Hello, my name is Anita Morin, and I'm a decorative painter. And today I'm going to share with you this, I believe, snowman art journal page. I'm going to show you how to do this. This pattern will be on my website, and everything that I'm going to use today will be at the bottom of the video link below. So the first thing that I want to do is prep the paper, and we're going to be using a mixed media Grim Badger, which is 5.5 by 8.5 inches. So they're white. You just take them out nicely, and then you can also put them back in when you're done. The paint that I'm going to be using today is DecoArt, and it'll be the American Acrylic. I'll be also using Dynasty Brushes, Stencil Pros. We'll have some stencils. And the first thing I want to do is prep my paper. And I have already applied gesso on here with a palette knife. And it's only in a few areas. So what I did was I took the gesso and I just layered it on, leaving some empty spots. Okay, I also need a glass pot. You can use palette paper if you want. You're going to need a bottle of water to spray the paint. And the color that I'm going to be using will be Spa Blue, Snow Titanium White, and I also have Payne's Gray. So those are the three colors that we're going to start with. Always shake your bottles. I'm going to apply a couple of drops in the middle section. Okay, I'm going to put some white. And we're going to put some Payne's Gray. Payne's Gray, I like to put it more along the edges. Okay. Now, I want to spray the paint. I want to make it really inky. Okay, and there'll be a big puddle in here. I'm just going to use a brush. I'm just going to water this down. I don't want blobs. And it's okay if it's mixing together. That's fine. I just don't want the thick blob. I'll put a little bit more paint, water. Okay. So it kind of has a marble effect there. And I don't want the blob of paint. I want this to be watered down. Okay. Now, I'm going to take my paper that has the gesso on top. I'm going to lay this flat, and I'm going to put pressure on this. Wiggle it a little bit there. Okay, we're going to put a little bit more. I find I need a little bit more blue. So what I'm going to do, while I still have a puddle, I'm just going to apply a little bit more blue, Payne's Gray on the edge. Take the brush, mix it up. I don't have enough blue in here. Okay, let's do this again. And there you go. I got some blue. I'm happy with that. A little bit more here. Okay, now let's just move this aside for 1 minute. I'm going to clean my little area there. A paper towel. Okay, we're done with this. I'm just going to move this aside. And now while this is wet, just lay it flat. I'm going to take some kosher salt, okay? And I'm going to put some on my hand. So while this is wet, I'm going to sprinkle some on here. Okay. What the salt does will absorb some of the paint, and it'll leave little effects. Sometimes the soap does stay to it, and it gives a nice little texture to it. Okay, now I want to dry this. Put this up. Okay, now I've dried this. It does take a while. Just sometimes you can do a couple pages at a time, just so that you have one to work on while it's drying. So now we have all these little salts. So what I like to do is remove some of this by just rubbing it on there, which you can. You can also use a brush if you don't want to use your hand. Circles will come off. Yeah, that looks good. And also, just so you're aware, your background will never ever be the same. So as long as you use the same method, you'll get similar colors. So it looks like a little marble effect. Okay, I'm going to clean off my mess. Okay, I'm just going to move this. I like using that mat because it's so easy to clean on when you're working with all kinds of colors. Okay, now I'm going to put this aside so you can look at it while I'm working with this one. Okay, I applied some Payne's gray all around it, like it's watered down. So I have my palette paper here. I'm going to put some Payne's gray on this. And I used a thick brush, which is a number 9 round. Okay. Now, I'm going to water this down. I'm going to water my paint down, my puddle here. I want the paint to roll onto the side. So just roll your bristle on there. Again, just add a little bit more water for just to roll. And you can also just add a little bit of water just so it runs a little bit. Okay, a little bit more over here. On the edges. Okay, and if I wanted to just put a little bit of water, just so it runs. Okay. Oops. Okay, and I'm just going to rinse that brush. Again, I'll have this little snowman pattern on my website if you want to follow along with me. And I'll have everything linked on the bottom of the video. Now let's just dry the edge a little bit so we can transfer our little snowman. Area to be dry so I can put my snowman on. So I have here my little design. You'll need gray graphite and a stylus to transfer it on. Okay, I'm going to put it out here. There's some stuff on here that can be done freehand, like these little arms. If you feel like you need to trace it on, you can go ahead. In the face, we do that afterwards. Just This is here. This just roughly, because it'll be pounced on by stippling. Let me just make sure it's going on there, okay? Yeah. Oops. Okay. Now what I want to do is float a little bit inky, like all around my snowman with the Payne's gray. I'll need a paper towel. Okay, I'm gonna put a fresh puddle on. Now I'm gonna use a shader brush, but you can use an angle if you, whatever you're comfortable with. I'm gonna wipe my brush. So I'm gonna pick up the corner. I'm gonna load, and it's gonna be inky. Okay, I want it like watered down, and it does not have to be perfect. So if you find this a little darker, add a little bit more water to it, tone it down. I'm gonna go all the way around my snowman. And if it's too dark, just tone it down with a little bit more water. All the way around. If you feel like, see right there, it's dragging, I need a little bit more water. Just go right over it. Oops, let's go right closer to the edge. Okay. Now, the first thing I want to do is add some white for my snowman. And as you can see, I left the original color a little bit to mix it up. I'm going to put some snow white. You can use warm white too, whichever white you have on hand. And I'm going to use a filbert brush. So I'm going to wet it. Okay. Now, it doesn't have to be a solid color. I just want to apply a little bit of white on here. Follow the line. So you are going to see some blues coming through. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same for down here. You can go along the edge so that you can hide your graphite. Oops. A bit more water on my brush. On the edge over here. This will be outline as well. Okay, now fix this up. I'm just going to turn this so it's easier for me to trace this. There we go. Okay, so see how you see some of the blue back there, which it will make like a instead of floating, this will be your little color. But I do want my little face just to be a little bit more white there. Okay. I'll let them dry. Okay. Now my hat, I did the hat with ocean water, the hat and the scarf. This is a very quick little project. Okay, now I'm gonna make sure this is not wet. I did apply a couple coats of the blue on here. So there's one coat. And then over here. Okay, let's, whoops, sorry, I keep hitting the camera. Went a little further than we want it to. Just gonna wipe this down. It's very easy to wipe off the paint while it's still wet. Okay, now let's dry that and then we'll give another coat. Okay. Your scarf. Okay, we'll dry this. We'll add our float and highlight. Just realized it has to be a little straighter. There we go. Okay, now to float, I'm going to use the same shader brush, and I do a mix of the open water and the Payne's gray for the float. Okay, so I dip my corner into there. I blend, and then I'll pick up a little bit of Payne's gray and mix those two colors together, okay? Now I'll go along the sides. And if you find you need it a little darker, then add a little bit more Payne's gray. And blend it some more. Okay, on the side here as well. Under the pom-pom. And by the banner right here. Or not the banner, the head brim. I'm gonna Just chop it up on the top area. Okay, and now I want to put float along the scarf. So I'm going to apply a fresh coat here. I'm going to pick up the ocean water. So Payne's gray, mix those two together. Okay, I'm going to put some on the side here. And then I want to put at the bottom of the scarf side. And I also want to go down the edge right here to the side. Okay, now let's dry that off. Okay, let's add our highlight on the top here and a little bit on here. So I mixed the open water. I picked up some white. Just mix those two colors together, but a little bit more white. Okay. Now it's not perfect. It's like a little choppy. Turn my brush, and you can dab your finger just to make it a little messier. Okay, and a little bit more water on the edge here. Now, I don't want harsh lines, so just wipe it off, okay? So it'll look a little bit like snow. Like this here, it's too harsh. I'm just gonna tone it down. Okay, dry this up. Now, while this white on the snowman is dry, if you feel like you need to put more, which I kind of do, just to fix up my snowman here, I'm going to pick up some white and I'm going to keep building my snowman where I want it to be a little bit more white. So like over here at the bottom, and probably more on this side here where there's this blue right there. Okay, this side's nice for a little shadow side. Okay, and I want my face just to be a little more brighter in the center area. Okay. Now we're gonna add some little dots on here, and I did that with a stencil. And this is with Studio R12, and this one is a random dot mini pattern stencil. And I'm gonna use the Stencil Pro, which is a 1/4 inch, and these are always used dry. You'll need a paper towel. So I'm gonna pick up some white. Okay, I picked up some white, and I'm gonna dry this as much as possible on my paper towel. I'm gonna place this and just randomly do the dots. It's okay that you go over because everything else is white. Okay, and then I'm gonna do some on the hat. It's adding a little bit of pressure. Okay, and there I got dots. I'm gonna rinse off my brush. Okay, now I want to add a little bit floats along the snowman right here, and that's with Payne's Gray. Just pick up lightly, and it's really choppy. Everything's watered down. It's art journaling. It's not perfect. I'm going to put some over here and underneath right there. Okay, and then I can put a little bit more right here. Okay. Now again, if I still feel like I need a little bit more white, I can use a little bit of white there with brush. I want this side to be a little bright. Just fade it in. Okay. Now we'll do the pom-pom and the hat brim. Okay, and I used khaki tan and snow white. Okay, now I'm going to put a drop of khaki tan. Now these are good. They're encaustic rounds. You can wet this so that it's a little more spread out. The bristles, they're rough looking. Okay, and then what I did was I picked up some khaki tan, and I'm going to pounce on here just so that the paint goes into the bristle when you don't have a big blob when you're applying to here. So just go up and down in pouncing motion there. Okay, now I'm going to go back with some white after. Okay, so we're just going to let that dry just a tad. I'm going to pick this up some more, and I'm going to do over here. Go straight across. Just going to pick up a little bit more. Now, if you don't like this, it's too big, you can always use the flat to do that. There's also a smaller round ones too. This is a number, I think it's a number 5. I do want to hide the graphite, so we're just going to pounce a little bit more here. Okay, now I'm going to take my paper towel. I'm just going to wipe the paint off. Okay, now I'm going to use this dirty, but I'm going to pick up Snow White. I'm going to put a little bit more. Okay, again, I'm going to pick some up and just pounce on here. Okay, and then start from the top. Okay, and over here. Okay. There. And that's it for the hat and like the pom-pom and the brim. I'm going to rinse my brush off. Okay, we can work on the face. Now the nose is done with Persimmon. I'm gonna put some on here. I can dry this too, just so it's not wet in case I touch it. Okay, I'm going to use this big number 9. If you feel more comfortable tracing it on, you can. But first, I forgot to do my cheeks. I have to have my cheeks on first. I'm going to use Alizarin Crimson for the cheeks. And I like using, it is a decorator dome brush, dry brush. It's nice and round, and you use this dry. Okay, now I'm going to pick up the Alizarin Crimson, blend it in there. Now I want to wipe as much as possible. It is a strong color, so you want it to be really, really faint. Okay, I don't want like dark cheeks. Now just do the centers of each side here and go in a circle, and then the other one right here. So you have two circles, okay? Now to clean these, you can just, I'll show you how to clean it. I did have another kind of rubbing alcohol. This one's a little bit inky. I'm not sure if this is going to work on a paper towel, but you can wipe paint off just until you get to clean it. Okay, pour a little bit more. And then you do this till the paint's all gone. Just so my paint doesn't dry my brush while I'm before, like until I get to clean it at the sink. Okay. Now we can do the nose. Okay. So I'll take this round brush, really load it. Okay. Now I just go to the center. I'll push down on the brush, make a nice round. And then what I'll do is, you can do whatever shape you want. And then I'll lift up my tip to have a little fine point. I'll go back and I'll fix my paint. Okay, now while it's wet, what I did is I picked up a little bit of, just a tad of the Payne's gray, mix those two together. I just want to make it like a brownish color. And then I'll just dab the edge right here while it's wet. I'm going to brush off. I'm going to dry this a little bit. I'm going to pick up some white on my brush. And I'm going to make it so like it's a little bit of a snow. And I got a lot of water in my brush. That's fine. Just go back. Too much water on my brush. I'm just going to go back into my white and just pick up a little bit, just dab the end there. Okay. Now to do the eyes and the mouth and the buttons, the arms is all done in lamp black. Okay, and what I did too, I'm gonna, for the eyes, I used a huge, you get a stylus for different sets. I used the biggest end that I have, so I just dab into the paint and do the eyes. And for the mouth, what I do is use the smaller end. I dipped in there. So I did the first two dots would be bigger. Okay. Let me just make this even. And then you keep going, and then the paint will get smaller, like the dots will get smaller. I also did a white dot for a highlight on its cheek. And of course, we can't do it on this side because it would be behind the carrot. Now for the buttons, I did use a handle. So you use a handle that has a nice round edge. You dip it into the paint. Okay, and we're in the middle section. You can do 3 if you want. Okay, let's dry this off. I said there's a little dot of highlight white. You can put the dots on top wherever you want. There's also some on the buns, but it needs to be dried just a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna take the small end and stylus. Actually, I want the dots to be a little smaller. So what I did was I took a 20 mini script liner. I'm gonna just wet it a little bit. So I'm gonna just pick up a little bit of white and I'm gonna dab 2 little dots. It's a little smaller than the stylus, so okay. Now for the frills, I used open water. And you can put a little bit of Payne's gray or on there as well. I didn't on that one, but so if you wanted to do 2 colors, pick up inky Payne's gray, really load the brush and bring it to a little fine point. So let's do a couple little strands. So just pull. And it doesn't have to be all the same length. Okay, I'm going to clean my brush and I'm going to pick up open water. Just ink it in there. And then it's a bit more. Okay. I want to do some floats like around the nose and my buttons with Payne's gray. Okay, so just do like a little C at the bottom of it and by the nose. Okay. I'll have one by the arm as well. I can do that now. Okay. Now for the arm, you can do this with your little script liner. So load up with the lamp black. This can be done freehand or you can trace it on. So I start big and then you're gonna just go up with it and then it's gonna get smaller as you're going. A little bit more water. Start from here. You can do this as long as you want. And then I'm going to have my heart down here. I'm going to make a little string. And then my other arm, it's hidden behind the snowman. I'm just going to turn this. So behind the snowman, about here. Okay. Okay, now let's transfer the stencil Believe. And I'm just going to dry this up just so that I don't get anything on it. The heart is done with Alizarin Crimson. Okay, so I picked it up with the script and I'm just gonna, the heart isn't the same on each side. You can do one side bigger than the other. And it's kind of like a square shape if you want. And then I added a little highlight. I'm going to pick up a little bit of white, just dab and dot. No, let them dry. Okay, I'm gonna need more black here. And the stencil that I use is called Believe, and this is from Studio Art 12 as well. Now I'm gonna place this. I don't want my heart to be hidden, so we'll do it about here. Because if I do it here, my heart's hidden, so this one will be lower than the other one. Okay, and what I do is I tape it down, or tape. I use painter's tape. Barrel. So I'm going to hold this on my surface. Okay. Need paper towel. And I need, I'm going to use the Stencil Pro. This will be a 3/8 because it's a little bit bigger. Okay, now I'm going to pick up some lamp black. Okay, and I'm going to wipe it on my paper towel. And hold down your stencil with your fingers and go in a circular motion. Now it'll go on lightly, which is what you want instead of big blob of paint. If you have to go back and make it darker, then just let it dry and then just apply a second coat. Okay, so every time you load your brush, just dry it on the paper towel. Now, I like it like just the way it is. I don't want it too dark. Okay, now let's turn this off. Like this. And then you can always wash these with the baby wipe. It comes out really clean. Okay. Now I want to add some float on the left side of each letter, okay? And that's done with Payne's gray. Okay, I need to go this way. Okay, now I'm going to pick up. And again, it's watered down, very inky, okay? I'm going to start over here, and it's on the right side. Well, no, on the left side of each letter. And just take the clean edge just to wipe off any harsh lines when you're doing shading. Wet my brush just a little bit more. Okay. And that's, so I have that. Okay. Now what I want to do is add some spatter. And the spatter is done with black and white. And for spattering, I like these fans. They're flamingo. I can't remember what it's called. They're so it's like round, but the fans they're spread out. So I really wet this, and I need a little bit more. I'm going to use a fresh puddle of that black and some white. Okay, so I have a lot of water in here, and I want to make this inky. Really use it in there. Okay, I'm going to just move this for a minute. Now what I'd like to do is take another brush and just dab. Now, if you find that it's too much or too dark, just take a damp paper towel or a baby wipe, I'm sorry, and just dab some of these. You'll see nice water blobs. Okay, now if you have more water in your brush, the specks will be a little bit larger, depending on how much water you add to your brush. Okay, now let's do the same with the white. Okay, I'm going to dab. Want some on its hat, a little bit on the scarf. Okay. Again, if you want some of the white to be a little bit, you can just dab a few little areas. Okay, now let's just dry this off a little bit. Now see how the white faded and then it's still a little tan? I can go back and add a little bit more water, white to it. So I'm just going to take this, I'm just going to dab a little bit more white. Okay. That's a little bit better. Okay. Now I outlined in my snowman and I used this pen. I'll show you. It is a Uniball black pen and it's great for outlining. And my lines aren't perfect, so I went around like twice and they're wiggly lines. So you can go. And your paper really has to be dry when you're going to outline. Okay, and then a couple times on the scarf. All the way around. And I also did the little heart. Okay. And I did his nose. Okay. And I think that's it. Okay. Now I added these snowflakes. It's with paste. So I used DecoArt Traditions white modeling paste. And I also added some metallic paint. So you mix, you only need a little bit. I had made way too much, so I saved it. You use a palette knife, mix them together. So you need a little drop of here and paint. Okay. And you mix it really good. Now I have some already because I didn't want to waste it. So I've saved it in a little jar. And what I used is Studio Art 12. It's a little stencil in the snowflake mini pattern. Okay, and you can put the snowflakes wherever you want. I like the one that was on the letter B. So see how thick that is? You only need a little bit. So you scrape it on. Nice little paste. Lift it up gently. And then if you find that it went through, make sure you don't have it on the other side. I added one on this little hand. It's okay if you get those little tiny dots too. Looks like a little snow. Okay, wherever you want. Made some off the page. And then if you want to do like here I have like a 3 here. So let's do these 3 little snowflakes. Just make sure you hold these down. And you apply your paste. And then it's easy to wipe off if that's not where you want it. And then we can do 3 more up here. So we can do this one here. Well, we'll add a couple over here. Okay, now, oh, maybe we can add one over here. So you just put it wherever you want. Okay. Make sure you don't touch your other snowflake too, which kind of touched there. Okay. Now, let me just wash this off. You should wash it off because it's thick paste. So I'm going to grab some paper towel, clean off my palette knife. And be very gentle when you do this because you don't want to ruin the little clips on the snowflakes when you do this. So you can take a little bit of water. And just gently make sure you don't add a lot of pressure because you don't want to ruin your snowflakes. Do the front and do the back. I'm going to grab another one. Now you can also rinse these under the sink too with some soap and they'll come up clean. There. Wash my hands. Okay, the eyes were done a little bit bigger on that one. And that's it for my design. Yeah, I think I got everything. So I hope you enjoyed this little art journal page and follow along with me. And thanks for joining me.